Rural Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com.
We've been here 2 years.
Okay. What are you taking out? What kind of wood?
Basically, all species. We're select cutting it. It's mainly red oak, white oak, beech, maple. And we started out just to, it's evolved, to do a very limited job, and then as we worked and he saw what we were doing, and I started pointing out there was a tremendous amount of rub damage. I said, you might as well, while we're here, get these trees. And then we've run into, especially with the red and the black oak, high mortality. And I think it's just due to the change in climate. It's getting warm, and the bouts of drought that we have. But I would say the black oak especially, maybe at this point, son, I'd say at least 40% of the timber standing black oak's dead, standing dead.
Wow. And then you can see stuff that's dying?
Oh, there was a good bit of, there's a good bit of, blown over, black oak. Even we harvested several trees that, must have blown over just a year or so before we started. And so if it's sound, even though it's down, we'll get it.
Right.
So yeah, the job has evolved, and the people are very happy with what we're doing. So at this point, we're just, I don't even see them. We haul the logs, and I send them the paperwork and a check in the mail. And what's unique about this site is right here, and you can't see from here because I guess the first 50, 75 foot, maybe 100 foot used to be clear.
Okay.
And then there's 20-acre patch of woods above. I did that job in 1997. And
so you can see the positive impact of what you did before.
Now once we get up in here, because we're logging on this side of the ridge, you can look over into this site.
Okay.
And it had been, I don't know, a couple years ago. I had never set foot on the site since we had done it the first time, and so I went up there and walked it, and it was a pretty remarkable experience for me. And what I found, one of the things I found pretty neat is the white oaks we had cut, the notches, everything else was gone, but the notches we'd cut out of the trees were still there. I thought that was pretty neat, But and then I think it's I've said this line before about talking about sustainability. Well, this job here and then the other job we're talking about, I did that before he was born.
Yeah.
Now we're back, and he's 21 years old now.
Right.
Helping me do this.
Yeah.
So, I am quite proud of that.
Yeah.
But this job here is basically what gave me. I had been logging. See, this is 97. I started in 95, but I had done some jobs, a couple jobs in the area. Then I had logged with a a friend of mine down in western North Carolina and North Georgia. Then I'd been in Floyd, and this was the job that really gave me my foothold here. Once I came back and did this job, we've been busy ever since. So,
how far away is this from your house?
Oh, 20 minutes.
Really? That's
at the
nice.
most. Yeah.
That's nice.
It's worked out real well the last several years because we've been logging in this area since 17. We did 2 jobs there, and then we've been on this big job. So yeah, I'm grateful for that, you know, as I have done jobs where we were an hour and a half away.
Right.
Here you go, buddy.
You've seen our America's Rural Yesterday 3-book set covering life on the farm in the early 1900s. We're excited to bring you a 4th edition to the series, Early Tractors, featuring more than 250 photos of early American tractors like Alice Chalmers, Oliver, John Deere, Farmall, Minneapolis Moline, and lots more. Most of the photos are of new or almost new tractors back in the day, showing exactly how they were configured when they came out of the factory. Tractor collectors, history buffs, and folks simply wanting to reminisce about farm life in America's Rural Yesterday will love to have this book. It sells for $24.95 plus shipping. If you buy more than one book in the series, the price per book goes down all the way to $69.95 for all 4 books. To order, call toll-free 877-647-2452 or visit www.mishka.com. That's 1-877-647-2452.
My aim, one of my goals for when I started this logging is I wanted to show that it's a viable option. That the horse logging is not some kind of, you know, specialty, some kind of something other that, you know, these people get in their heads. Like, no, we can, you know, we're here to compete with
Right.
everybody else.
Right.
And so but the way to do it, in other words, you hear a lot of talk.
Right.
People like to talk about it.
Right.
And discuss it and
Right.
analyze it. And
Right.
well, my way of going at it is we've been doing it.
Yeah.
So I tell a story on this job. We were coming right down the face there, and this
Right.
was all clear, so you could see as soon as we came out of the woods. The knuckle boom loader was sitting right up there, and that's where we were loading the truck. And I had a CB in the truck, and every day these guys in gravel trucks, and they had a log job, conventional job going up the road somewhere. They were always going by.
Yeah.
We could hear them talking. And you hear them, they'd be, look at them boys over there, you know. And in the beginning, you know, their comments were kind of skeptical.
Right.
And we had, it was just me and another boy, and we had 2 single horses, and we were moving a tandem load a day.
Really.
And after a month or so we were in here, a couple of those boys come by in the trucks, and he said, I tell you what, he said, those boys right there is getting it done. And he said, they're making some money right there.
Right.
And that was, to me, you know, that's when it became real and legitimate to them. That it wasn't some kind of obscure, you know, hobby guy just doing a little bit
Right.
of, you know, like these guys are serious.
Right.
They're moving a serious amount of timber here. And so that's what I've endeavored to do. In our, I've got that done in the local area. Everybody knows me, you know, and they take us as seriously as any other harvesting operation. And then that's what I've been in the bigger picture. That's been my goal, is to set an example and to develop the techniques, because, you know, we live in a modern time, and
Right.
we deal with different things, but to show that it's still viable and it can be done. Everybody's always worried about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't know what y'all think. We're just a couple pairs of horses. You know, there's only so much we can do.
Right.
But we have made an impact in that while there's still clear cutting going on, there's a lot of better logging going on with the conventional guys.
Okay.
A lot more select cutting, a lot
Okay.
more,
Coming from the landowners probably, or
yeah. I mean that's because we've done. You know, you're talking about in this area. Since I've started, we have cut over several thousands of acres,
right,
and been all over the region.
right.
So we've been setting that example, and you can drive out. This is Highway 72 going towards Fort Blackmore, Virginia, and you go from here to Fort Blackmore, and you're going to go by 6 or 8 jobs I've done. You'll never ever know it.
Yeah, right.
And so, you know, the people that saw me do it, they know I did it, and they see what the results are. Just like here.
Right, right.
You know,
right.
Just like what we're doing now, you can't really tell it, and while we're actively harvesting it. So we've made an impact. And while you know the type of work that their select cut stuff, I would say is still not on par with the quality we're doing.
Right.
But it's better than the clear cut.
Right.
If they leave 20% of the timber standing, that's great. That's trees that wouldn't have been standing otherwise.
Right.
And so that's kind of how I have looked at it. Is we're trying to have an impact and set an example and all that, one boundary at a time. And so that's
real rewarding.
a big part of, well, it's been my life's work.
Yeah, right.
I started this when I was 22 years old. I started working horses when I was 17. And I was doing an interview one time, and I got my business loan through a nonprofit in Abingdon, Virginia called Business Start.
Okay.
And they would do loans that a conventional, bank business loans that a bank wouldn't do.
Right.
Get a bank to do a loan for horse logging, that's not happening,
Right.
They look at you like you're crazy.
Right. Right.
So I went through the Business Start program. You had to go to, I forget how many weeks of class, but I was ahead of the game on that because I had a couple years of college, business courses and stuff under my belt. So I went through the class and had to write a business plan and presented all that, and I got the loan, and I borrowed the maximum amount they would loan. I borrowed $25,000 and went into business in 1995. And but I don't know, it's been a while. 6-8 years probably. They had I don't know what you'd call it, award ceremony or.
Yeah.
Anyways, and I didn't know it at the time. I'm the oldest business that they had funded.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The
others had.
I've been in business the longest.
Right. Wow.
So persistence. Personally,
Right.
And I was proud of that.
And
They were. What I'm getting at is they were interviewing, and the guy, he goes, "Well, what have you?" The mindset. So people think, well, have you grown your business? I've got the same trailer I bought in 1995.
Okay.
And while it looks kind of rough, it's been completely rebuilt. It's roadworthy, all.
Carried 4 big horses.
And, all the suspension's new,
Right.
I still got the same log truck that I bought. I've had that pickup there since 2008, and then I've still got the original pickup I bought. And he's looking at that, and he goes, "Well, what have you done to grow your business?" He was looking at it in those terms.
Right. Right.
And I said, "Well, it's that's not what I'm after. I'm not after more capital investment." I said, what we've done is you can't see it. I said, the quality of the horses. I said, I've been breeding horses, and I said, at that time I said, I've got better horses than I've ever had. And now today, since then, I've got better horses than I've ever had. So I said we've invested a lot of time and energy into that. And I said our skill set. So I said that's how I've been growing the business. I said there's more ways to do it than just buying more material things.
If you enjoy seeing how our ancestors lived during America's rule yesterday, you're going to love looking at these books. Volume 1 is Fieldwork, showing horses and vintage tractors preparing seed beds, planting, cultivating, and harvesting the crop. Volume 2 shows the work being done in the barn and farmyard, feeding and watering the livestock, getting the crop into the barn, milking the cows, shearing the sheep, and collecting the eggs. In Volume 3, we go inside the home to see the family in the kitchen canning vegetables, in the parlor listening to the radio, and in the dining room for family supper. We also head into town to shop at the general store or visit on the town square on Saturday night. Each book has over 140 large format pages. They sell for $24.95 each, or you can buy 2 for $44.95, or all 3 for $54.95 plus shipping. Call 1-877-647-2452 to order. That's 1-877-647-2452.
Doing what you can, learning skills. What I knew when I started and what I could do compared to now is, so many things, from welding and fabrication, shoeing horses. I didn't know anything about hydraulics or any of that.
Yeah.
Just you name it. But I do all my own mechanic work. I do all my own shoeing. I do all my own doctoring that I can, do, which most horse people do. But so all of those things make a difference.
Right.
And I'm not just out here trying to just get more equipment, and the object is not just about move more wood, move more wood, move more wood. It's how about move the same amount of wood, but we're doing it so much easier. I can move a load of logs now in half the skids that it used to take us, just because of the better horses, more power, better skill at what we're doing. So it's much more efficient. The truck, my log truck, I've put enough work into it. I've got a C60. It's a 1967 60 series Chevrolet truck with a tandem axle on it, and I can scale 14 tons on it. It's a special built truck. It'll haul 2,800 feet of hardwood. So that's it's an old truck and it's got a gas engine in it, but it's real damn efficient, because when I go to the, I'm bringing a lot of wood when I go. So it's been those type of things that how I've grown the business. And then one of the biggest things how I've grown the business is sitting right there. He's went from a little boy playing fort on the stump with sticks and rocks. Him and his older sister, he's doing all the timber cutting. Right. He makes all the choices. Right. He's got a forestry degree, so he's taking. I call in the way I look at it, the man cutting the timber in a horse logging operation is the lead man. He sets the pace. His decisions either make a good day or a bad day.
Right. They impact everything down the line.
They impact everything down the line, and so he's got to the point now with his skills that he makes everything run very smooth, and so that's how the business has grown in just that. I tell a lot of people what we do is not. It's a way of life. Right. My children grew. These horses part of the family. Right. And we love them to death, but it's it's like brothers and sisters. We fuss and carry on and have our good days and bad days, but in the end they're part of the family, and we treat them that way. And they grew up. I'm so proud. Even my oldest daughter, she can go catch the horses and deal with them. They've all grown up in the woods.
Right.
This job has afforded me the luxury, I call it, of and this is where I come from on that. You know, my father was a coal miner.
Okay.
He worked in 45 years. Well, we moved to Virginia in 1979, and he had a couple years of experience in the mines, so that's where he could get work. And he literally, in those 45 years, if you just added up the hours per day, he spent more time going to work in the mines and coming from work than he ever did at home.
Right.
And you know, he's a great father, you know, but I just didn't get to spend the time with him that I would like to have had. And so that was one reason that I got into doing this, have more of my own, you know, autonomy, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so it's allowed me to, these kids have literally grown up with me in the woods.
Right.
As soon as they were big enough I was bringing them to the woods. So, yeah, that's priceless. So, you know, they talk about, I could tell people, you know, my name of our little farm's Po' Boy Farm, but you know, that's just it's all on how you measure wealth.
Right. Right.
So, you know, in a
You
lot,
don't have a lot of money, but you're rich.
but in a lot of ways, I'm a wealthy man.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, I'm fortunate. I feel, you know, I'm grateful that, because, you know, we've been through some, especially in the last 5 years, you know, real
Challenges.
challenges, to say the least.
Yes.
And it wasn't for what I was doing,
Right.
we wouldn't have come through it as
Right.
well as we have.
Right.
So,
You had a foundation.
and it, you know, and it gave me the flexibility to do what I needed to do to take care of the kids.
Yep.
And, you know, and then when all else failed, they were in the woods with me, you know. I couldn't do anything else with them. It's like, yeah, I've always, like I've told him, I said, son, I'm going to support you with whatever you want to do with your life.
Right.
And you know, I said, yeah, I don't expect you to, you know, if this is not for you, I have no problem with that. Then the only nuance or stipulation with that, though, is, but while you're here,
Right.
yeah, you need to participate.
Right.
And not just because there's just a lot to learn. There's a lot of life skills that you learn dealing with these horses, working in the woods, responsibility, just learning a work ethic, learning how to work.
Right.
And what I'm after is to teach my children, like my dad taught me, like my parents taught me, my mother and father, a basic set of skills, mentally and physically. So that's what's allowed me to do what I've done with the logging. As I come up on obstacles, I can figure it out. I can work my way through it. And that's what I'm trying to teach them. And this is a good pathway for that. I'm giving my children, that's the best thing I can do for them, is give them those basic skills, because who knows what this world and life holds in store for them. I want them to be prepared. So being prepared to me is not about material things. It's about what's in here.
Right.
And in what's in here. You
It's
know?
not even about.
This program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027 or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of back-to-the-land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.